Bank of Canada eventually decided to put interest rate raise on hold after 8 consecutive raises. Government also recently loosened up the restriction for working permit holder to purchase their first primary home in Canada. But the real estate market in GTA did not react too positively to these two good news, at least not in terms of average sold price. So how is current market, hot or cold? Hi, this is Pris Han with your Home Sold Guarantee Realty team, Pris Han. Today, let's take a look together newly available March Toronto Real Estate Board Market Watch Report. So like in the previous months, I used two graphs. The large one is for March and the smaller one is one more month ahead in February. So when we compare big to small, we see month over month change. Together we study 5 parameters. Under each of them, we see a white percentage. That is the year over year change for each parameter. So if we take a look at the average sold price across the whole GTA, you will see it arrives at 1.1 million in March, and this is another $13,000 increase from February. And if you remember, February we had 5.5% increase over January, and that is the largest single month recovery ever since Bank of Canada announced the interest rate raise starting from March last year. So this month, it hovered around 1.1 million after last month's increase. But more noticeably, what attracted my attention is the sales volume. In March, the whole market sold for close to 6,900 units, and that is a 44% increase over last month's 4,800 sold units. So this is a quite visible activeness over the past couple months that we see a very stale market. The new listing does increase as well, but it's not as significantly as the sales volume. It is 33% increase from last month, but because the increase speed is not as fast as the sales volume, the active listing now is only on par with last year. So you can see this almost identical to the same period last year. And if you remember, last year, March is the first month that interest rate announced the raise, but because it announced not at the beginning, so it is actually quite the peak of the whole year. I'm referring to both transaction volume and average sold price. So when you compare this number to active listing in February, you can also see February, the active listing was a lot more than February last year, but this month is also on par. So you can see when you put together the sales volume and the new listing, you realize that the supply did not catch the same speed as demand. So as a result, the overall market inventory went down from last month's 2 months inventory to this month's 1.5 months inventory. And if you remember January, which I show you here, you will see in January, it was 3 months inventory. So just in 2 months time, the inventory halved. So now you sense the different dynamic between supply and demand in the market. And also because of that, you realize the market has stepped out from February's balanced market into seller's market. I'll continue to talk about this right after these two graphs. One more parameter is the average days on market. It continued to decrease from last month's 22 days to 19 days. So even comparing with same period last year, which is only just a week, it is still more than doubled, but you see the trend decrease from January's 29 days to last month's 22 days and to this month's 19 days. Just again, other than the absolute number, do pay attention to the trend. In the past couple months, I talked a lot about the market price trend, but today I want to focus more on the whole Greater Toronto area's supply and demand. I will use 3 parameters: new listing, active listing, and sales. So let's take a look at their dynamic. So in this chart, I show you the stats starting from January 2021 till March 2023. So you see the trend of these 3 parameters. First, I want to draw your attention to see actually there's a seasonality. Every March, every early spring, March, April, you will see a peak both in new listing and the sales volume, right? So 2021 is like that, same as 2022. So March 2023 showed a similar trend, even though the absolute number is not as high as the past 2 years. I think you will agree with me that the new listing represents the supply, right? And the sales is more on the demand side. So if new listing is on the top, but then there's a huge gap between the two, that means the supply is a lot comparing to the demand, right? Take 2022 as an example, because the market digests only a small part of the new listing coming to the market. Right afterwards, you will see the market inventory start to pile up. So you can see because of this huge gap between the new listing and sales in May, in June, you see there's a very high inventory level in the market building up. So that is the active listing. But interestingly, we didn't see the market remain at a high inventory level for too long. Actually, you can see that right after summer last year, the situation start to change. You can see the active listing fall down quite quickly, and that is resulted from the sharp decrease of new listing. So when Bank of Canada announced interest rate raise, and the sellers, they follow the momentum and stay on the market for 2 actual months, and immediately when the price start to drop, they realize the market is no longer friendly to them. A lot of them, instead of anxiously getting rid of their property, they take the property back and they do not plan to sell. All of a sudden, the market run out of inventory. The sales also drop because some of the buyers, they choose to wait a bit longer to hope the price will further decline. Actually, the market did. Because especially you take detached as an example, you see that they drop almost 20% from the peak. But the transaction volumes decrease is much less. You can see the decrease much more moderate comparing with the slope of new listings decline, right? So as a result, active listing also fall. And this becomes even more drastic at the end of last year in December. That's why the realtors, we start to see bidding again. The buyers are still there, and some of them, they already waited for 6 months, 9 months, they start to come back to the market and start to purchase. But because there's so few available listings, no seller is taking their property out in the market, then the dynamics start to change. That pushed market start to bounce back. We saw that 5.5% month-over-month increase in average sold price in February, and in March this continued. The sellers, they're very active because they sense that, and they start to putting back the property on the market. But so as the sales volume. So this also, either some of them, they detect the beginning of the uprising trend, or some of them, they waited for long enough and they're tired of waiting, especially the rental price is high. So now, at least starting from these 2 months, we see the markets active again. But I think it's too early to say that the market has finished the decline and we are going to the uprising tunnel, because don't forget, March typically is the most active month in a year. If the trend has already set, we need to observe maybe 2 extra months, April and May, and then we'll discuss this again. So this is the end of this video. If you have any recent purchase or sell plan, please feel welcome to talk to us, and we'll cater your own buying and selling strategy. See you in next video.